legend says that Hercules swept Cerberus right off his feet and effortlessly set him down softly as a songbird. Atlas kept the world upon his back and every day wondered whether he could stand it any longer. And Tara Reade came out to say the man they tried to label the messiah of morality was really just another rapist. And I don't intend to hesitate when asked who was the stronger. Tara, like Assange, knew that carrying the truth would be the hardest labor. Tara knew that her assailant wasn't gonna make us any safer. And knew he's just the type of man to hand a decent foreign leader US printed walking papers. And knew he'd be relentless and aggressive in the war he'd wage upon her very character. That his attempts to weaken and degrade and embarrass her would be her only compensation. But I strongly doubt that anyone could ever have foreseen the stream of hate that came from quote-unquote progressives and the self-styled titans of survivor advocation. So if you really think there's something to be gained out of sharing your pain with the world, you are sorely mistaken. The Biden team just dragged their feet addressing Tara's allegations. Until they had a decent list of smears, then they aired them out on every station. And it turns out no one wants to hear the truth of who they praised as being worthy of such bloated liberal celebration. That no one wants to really know the person they've so valiantly defended, even when it meant they had to gloat and shit all over someone braver than they'd be if given the occasion. Now cue the faceless comment squad invasion. Cue those fuckers crawling out the woodwork to come analyze the way you wore your hair and what you wear. Like your appearance waives your rights, or that somehow you're the reason for your situation. Somehow they've decided you should bear responsibility for what such monstrous men insist on doing. Somehow they're deluded by the empty, hypocritical, and useless fucking platitudes that bastard keeps on spewing. And I think it's very telling that the best of their excuses when they try to come and justify our president's abuses is a hearty butt Trump. In which case I'll remind you that you never saw the news attempt to sell us Donald Trump like he was morally upstanding or a decent human. But when Joe says something bigoted or ogles someone's little kid, CNN says, isn't this refreshing? Biden's like a mix of JFK and FDR with all the finer parts of Harry Truman. Christ, I know that they don't think that we're the brightest, but at least pretend we got a couple lumens. Ask yourself if you have ever questioned what they fed you, or do you just shut your eyes and then consume it? And now ask yourself if you ate every one of Biden's lies under guise of harm reduction and the promise of a slight improvement. And now imagine long ago that Biden chose to show you who he really was by traumatizing you for his amusement. Now imagine that you watched him touch a Bible with those filthy hands, and then assume the power of the highest seat in all the land, of knowing your attacker wields a global coalition born of three-letter agencies who'll make a life's mission out of trying to discredit you through lies, damn lies, and collusion. Big tech is never gonna separate from our surveillance state. Fuck's sakes, they're just a breath away from total fusion. So there will come a time where even if you see the light, your voice will never reach the sky through all the bots and all the noise pollution. So trust us when we tell you that the masking of abuses is perhaps this country's oldest institution. And I know nothing nobler than facing it in honor of the truth when you know that the people holding power have been neutralizing truth since there was wet ink on the Constitution. So know that Tara's truth is something crucial to the movement. And if you see yourself a partner to the revolution, help this country see through all the baseless propaganda through the crux of Joe's illusions. And recognize that Tara Reade gave everything she had so she could tell us what the truth is. Recognize the decent thing to do when someone bears their soul and shows their bruises is not to ask for context or offer up your own solutions. Your job is just to listen with an honest mind and put yourself on Tara's side a moment so you understand the path she chooses. That there is no instant fame worth the dragging of your name. And if that's what you think, you've a lot to learn about the kind of facts the mob can handle and the kind that it refuses. You've a lot to learn about the news and all its many uses. Guess you've yet to learn the truth the news will serve as fruit from which they've squeezed out all the juices. And we all eat the husk and just pretend it's full of nutrients and isn't really useless. But the jaws of our ability to yield accountability are absolutely toothless. So don't you kid yourself that any lips are being loosened. They won't ever tell us where the bodies are or show us where the proof is. It's on you to recognize the lechery our president so regularly oozes. It's on you to muster up some honesty and ask yourself how Biden won your trust, but it's America that loses. Open up your eyes and learn to recognize the bruises. Open up your eyes and learn to recognize the bruises. My lips, brand new taxes, starving all the billionaires and neutering their Visa Maxes. Topple Congress off their axis, mobilize the homeless, give them axes, call it praxis. Chop a couple limbs off the legislative branches. We'll show you the difference between air as a human right and guaranteed oxygen access. Octogenarians who barely know what day it is are culling countless citizens while sitting on a dais made of ignorance that was built on the graves of the slaves made to labor for its self-declared significance. And all to build a Congress full of millionaires who make their fortunes insider trading while they shit on all the indigent. So I got a bone to pick with our leaders, and I'll start with the ligaments. Pick right through the muscle, dig the marrow out, and serve it to the unhoused millions living in their minivans or watching their belongings get evicted from their tenement. I have a dream where we breach the walls of Congress and just let them in. And what happens next will survive in only text, cause there won't be any evidence. There will only be that heavy kind of feeling that pervades a space where there has been a reckoning and you can feel its remnants. Let any man who enters seeking power know that those who came before him suffocated on their eminence. That there once was a seal on the wall, but we quartered it and scattered all the pieces that it might prevent its semblance. And so we end the great experiment. We'll take all your billions, leave you 2 coins for the ferryman. Leave you drifting on a Dutchman floating derelict among the wretched seraphim. For holy is the hand that wiped the land clean of those who pose as gentlemen. That's my time, honey, cue the thunderclap and strike the theremin. And so we end the great experiment. Give you 2 coins for the ferryman. I think I liked it better being blind, when I couldn't read between the lines, and when I couldn't see the cracks in the structure that lay bare before me the whole time. I think I liked it better back when I suspended disbelief and swallowed pride. I thought I knew the difference in the red from the blue, but they both bleed us so dry. They both bleed us so dry. My favorite songs don't hit the same way. I get to the end of a 4-minute track and I'm only looking back thinking, what did they actually say? So I try to sit down with my wife and watch TV, but I just see propaganda elevating the police in the simplest of sitcom banter, and tiny little altars full of offerings to corporate masters in every well-planned wide-pan shot of the name brand stocking up the pantry. Pull back one long tracking shot out to the garage to the logo on the Camry. Nice tight shot of the Camry. Close-up view of the Camry. Slow pan up on the Camry. Long slow zoom to the unmoving human who's up in the front with the tube pumping fumes to him straight from the back of the Camry. Ashamed he just could not provide for himself, let alone for his family. It's a blue pill mindset that spent 2020 making dance beats.
I think I liked it better being blind, when I couldn't read between the lines, and when I couldn't see the cracks in the structure that lay bare before me the whole time. I think I liked it better back when I suspended disbelief and swallowed pride, and thought I knew the difference in the red from the blue, but they both bleed us so dry. They both bleed us so dry.
Ignorance is bliss, which explains why a lot of us are so fucking happy. Quick to take the trip for all its trappings. Never one to ask what's up, what's going on, or God forbid what's happening. A lot of us would strap into the ride and then spit right in the eye of the guy whose job it is to snap your fastenings. But maybe we're all born with that capacity. Maybe each of us comes standard with humor, compassion, malice, and audacity. Some of us are blind to the system, but some see it fine and say this is how it has to be. Some of us can stare wide-eyed at a nationwide human catastrophe and only offer platitudes and recipes. And I wish that I could tell myself that nothing's worth obsessing past my everyday necessities. I wish that I could cry fake news over anything that threatened me, tune out our abuses and consume a little levity. Wish that I could offer up my son a smoother destiny. Wish I had some better lessons for how best to answer questions for the things I've been perpetually questioning. But I'm too busy looking at our leaders, wondering what I might be missing from their messaging. Trying to find the reasoning to let 250,000 people meet an early reckoning. And even though I know the truth, it's hard to swallow something that's so literally sickening. Hope is ever dwindling, COVID ever beckoning. Winter slows your breathing, but your pulse is ever quickening. Even though I know the truth, it's hard to keep listening. I'm done with my epiphany, my innocence is blistering. I'd like to think I'd taste the earth before I'd ever kiss the ring. Hard to speak the truth and harder still to keep listening.
Sometimes I think I miss being blind, when I couldn't read between the lines, and when I couldn't see the cracks in the structure that lay bare before me the whole time.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Tara Reade. This is The Politics of Survival, and I have one of my favorite people in the world, and I know he will be yours too. He is a world-renowned director, producer, executive producer, Igor Lopatonok. Welcome, Igor. It's the second time on my show, and I'm so happy to see you.
Thank you very much, Tara, for having me. It's a real pleasure. After your conversation with you, I feel a kind of excitement and rejuvenation of the creative ability to do something in this very peculiar, dark time. So thank you for being around.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's a lot's changed since last time you were on my show. It was a few months. You had just finished and were promoting in 2021 Kazakh, which was about Kazakhstan. Yeah. And I have the trailer here so that our audience can see it. Can you talk a little bit about this particular documentary?
This is our latest film. This is our latest feature and 8 episode of TV documentary series. We filmed it in 2020, 2021. We premiered it in 2021. Now we're releasing this. And this is a movie about heart of Eurasia and the leader of Kazakhstan Republic, father founder, they call him father founder. They have a special word for this, who was in power for 30 years, who built the country, who developed their own way of democracy. And we was fascinated to tell the story because when we just started that film, I think, it's a problem. Kazakhstan is a regional country, not a superpower. And we was used to interview Mr. Putin and talk about that global problem. But no, Kazakhstan is the heart of Eurasia and is laying in a very much related to anything what's going on in the entire world. And it's a beautiful country. I love it. 9th biggest country in the world, 90 million population only. It's less populated country.
Yeah.
Very rich on oil and gas, uranium, gold, etc., metals, and a beautiful people. But there's also the heart of civilization of Scythians, what was dominating the 15th centuries from 11 BC to the 4 AD, and even more. That we know that Attila the Hun was belonging to the Scythians. Yeah, who not they're in the Rome, but push it to the end. And this civilization is so fascinating me because we know very little about this. We know just from Herodotus writings, we know it from other books, but there's very little left because they don't have anyone writing monuments survive. So we don't have a book big like a Homer or Iliad or and others. So they left more gold 3 times than Greek civilization and Egyptian civilization together. And they was very, very often mentioned in the ancient Greeks chronics. They even used to be the policemen in Athens. They call that the horse archer Scythian. And they drink wine, not mixing the wine with water. as we do now, yeah.
Right.
and they it's also like they call that you drinking like a Scythian a lot. But
funny.
they don't know slavery. Greeks, by the way, teach them slavery because, and it's a funny anecdote, but it said, "What are you doing with your troublemakers?" Oh, so we holding them. Oh, you can sell it to us. Why? So because we will have them and you will have no trouble. This is how the ancient Greeks talk to Scythian about. But if you telling this seriously, country was in a big disarray in 1991 with Soviet Union collapsing. The last country who recognized independence from Soviet Union was Kazakhstan.
Oh,
and
okay.
but the God or Allah, you can say, give them the good leader who was a man with a big heart and very tough. And he started building the country from the scratch. There's no law, no parliament, no government, no foreign trade, nothing. And he has a huge nuclear polygon, on his hands, he has the fourth biggest arsenal of nuclear weapons, and he practically has no money and no security. And of course, the people start coming. It's in our series, like Yasser Arafat was sent to him by Muammar Gaddafi, and he said, "I'm not come from myself. I'm come from your friends, because now you're not only most northern Muslim country in the world. You only one country in the Muslim world who have a nuclear weapon. It was in 1991, 1992. So you need to preserve that legacy. What we have that legacy, and he make a right choice. He said no, and I said, "Oh, it's too expensive. It's too expensive. We want to make a joke, so too expensive." And she said, Nazarbayev tell us, I don't know numbers on this. I just like out of the blue say him like maintenance of this weapon is very expensive. He said, "How expensive?" I said, 20 billions. I said, "Oh, I will talk to the people. You will have this money." And this scared him because he don't want to sell. He want to just take it off, just
be peaceful.
destroy it. It's ended up in the Russian hands. They transferred all warheads to Russia, and Russia pay off the cost of uranium. They also do a great job with, we will talk about this later. It's an interesting subject because it's related to Ukraine. Ukraine was exactly the same negotiation of reading of the nuclear weapon. And after that, all this country, Soviet Union, biggest republic, Russia, Kazakhstan, Ukraine, and Belarus, they was executed the agreement in Budapest. And in 1994, the negotiation take a long time, and it was a complete finishing and making it legal. So this country disbanded their nuclear status, and they go completely non-nuclear. Why it's related? Because I make my name making the movies about Ukraine, working with Oliver Stone, like a famous Ukrainian fire. After that, revealing Ukraine, and we're going to talk about our latest one, the everlasting present.
Right.
So, but Ukraine was a signatory of this Budapest agreement, and now the history striking back. Because why the history is so important to understand anything what's going on in the media now? Because without knowing the historical context, it's practically impossible to take it right. When narrative is moderated so heavy, and it's such a lot of fake news flying around, especially from Ukraine, practically 95% of all news was produced in Ukraine. This is a fake. So coming back to Budapest Memorandum, what's people asking why Putin do such a big mistake? Why he invade Ukraine? You need to understand this is not about Ukraine, what's Putin do it now. This is about Russia. And all this war in Ukraine is not about Ukrainians' will to join the European Union or live in a different way than Russia did. What Zelensky did in Budapest, he said, Budapest Memorandum is violated, and we questioning, and I ordered in the commission to start finding our way out of Budapest. What is mean from the diplomatic language? We want to regain nuclear status. We want to join NATO. We want to regain nuclear status, and we want to go on war with the Crimea, to liberate Crimea and to make that Crimea back to Ukraine. Even the Crimea under Ukrainian governments suffer. I was born in Ukraine. I grown up in Ukraine. I spent.
I was going to ask you about that. This military operation, this proxy war that the U.S. is fighting against Russia using Ukrainians. I mean, this has a personal meaning for you. This is where you were born in the former Soviet Union. What part of Ukraine were you born in?
I was born close in the east of Ukraine, close to the city Dnipropetrovsk. It was actually industrial heart of Ukraine. They're producing a lot of steel. And after that, I moved and studied in the Dnipropetrovsk University. And after that, I work in Moscow, go back to Ukraine, back to Moscow, back to Ukraine, moved to Kiev 2004, start making the movies 2005, 2008, emigrate to United States. And my
you're a
movies
U.S.
bring me
citizen.
here.
You're a U.S. citizen.
Yeah, I'm U.S. citizen from 2016. Yes, my movies bring me here because I want to make movies, and this is actually the center of the movie making in the world, Hollywood, exactly. Los Angeles. There's 300,000 professionals who making films living in this city.
Right.
So I'm joined this family, make my way. Meet Oliver Stone 2014. We released our first film. Work on this time. We did 4 movies together. It's a blessing for me. I calling him my teacher. He calling me bastard. Anyway,
but he's a good mentor. He mentors you. Is that correct?
Amazing. Yeah. He has such a hard hand. You know, when he's, of course, metaphorically, if he's slapping your back and saying not good, so he throw in trash can my Ukrainian Fire first cut and make that film.
He threw it. He just threw it away.
I don't. Yeah. After 6 months of cutting the film, and you know what? After 6 months cutting of the film, and more than 1 year already in the making, I invite him to my office, show him the movie, said, "Give it to me." He not throw it directly, but I call him this throwing in the trash can. He said, "No, it's not sober. It's bad. Tomorrow you and your editor come, and we will gonna work." Next day,
were you nervous?
Were
you nervous?
No, I was devastated.
You were happy?
I was like, "Oh my God, yeah, we need to release it. It's like time is coming, time is going. But you know what?
Yeah.
It's a 7 year. It's a 7 year this year as the movie was released.
Right.
This is still fresh. And
it is.
when we filmed in the Reade in Ukraine 2019, one of our speaker in the Reade in Ukraine, this is a sequel for Ukrainian Fire, Lee Stranahan, he tell me, Igor, I watched your film on a stop and go, on a pause, 9 hours. I double check every facts what you use. I can't find anything wrong. Said, oh, thank you, Lee. We did it such a long time.
Good.
So you condense the more than 2 years of your work and all your lifelong knowledge about Ukraine, and you condense it in one film. And you add in the Oliver Stone, and that's good. And I'm really proud. I think
if I could interject, I love Ukraine on Fire, and I've watched it twice. And then there was something that happened a few months ago that just made me incensed, and that was they took down all of Oliver Stone and your work from YouTube.
Not all of Oliver works, but they took down Ukraine on Fire. And that was crazy because...
What about Ukraine Rising and the other one?
No, Revealing Ukraine was not affected. It's so strange. Okay. What I understand is somebody in Ukraine was complaining about this. So, the film is anti-Ukrainian. Let's take that down. Film was around from 2016. Come on. So it's practically everywhere. YouTube is only one, and we post that copy. This is not our main source of distribution. Our main source is Amazon. After that, the Apple TV. After that, all other outlets. And only in YouTube, it's just a copy for people who have no money to pay, but they want to see the film. So we posted it on YouTube, and people watch it for free. We not monetize the film.
Right.
We make it free for and then at the time when they take down, it was 400,000 of view and 5,000 comments. So the level of engagement was very much big, and the ratio of liking, disliking was like, if you just reading. When I have a bad mood, I'm going to YouTube and I reading comments from people who is, of course, is the people who threaten me like a blah 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 Russian propaganda. Come on, I used to that. I'm used to that from the beginning. I don't care. If you film in the Putin, you already a Putin agent. If you film in Russia, you are a Russian citizen, etc., etc., etc. And they pay you, of course, but no 1 cent come. Anyway, so they take down film. We complain, and after that, they restore it. They deleted, and they accused that the accusation was so bad. So the show, like some kind of violent criminal organization. I said, what a violent criminal organization? Ukrainian army or paramilitary? Probably yes, but this is a documentary, and this documentary awarded. We won the Grand Prix in 2016 at Taormina Film Festival and other awards. So we released it everywhere. It was everywhere. 2016, Ukrainian embassy in Paris, they write a letter to company Canal Plus, who carry us on a Canal Plus, some kind of planet, and they complain. So this anti-Ukrainian movie, do not show it. They said, oh, sorry, this is not up to you to decide. We decided if you're gonna complain more, we're gonna just rotate it more. They stopped. Yeah, this French position was very clever.
Well, now the audience can find it on Rumble, right?
Yes, we immediately posted on Rumble. Rumble CEO called me. That's friends come, and thanks to Glenn Greenwald who jumped and on this. And Oliver asked me, "Is this real? They take down the film?" I said, "Yeah." Oh my bastards! So friends come, and we make a big splash. We now have like a 2.8 million view on a Rumble.
Wow!
And a great like more than 2,000 comments. People discussing this. This is a movie from 2016. Yeah. And the other movie also were doing great. Other movie it's another drama because the sequel of Ukrainian Fire calling Revealing Ukraine was released 2019. We love Italian public. We did it in Taormina again, and we won again Grand Prix for our input in the.
Wow! He just put up the title of the film.
Our key speaker, our key speaker now. You know where? The Viktor Medvedchuk sitting in Ukrainian jail, accused. He was the most heavyweight, popular leader of opposition. He wanted to avoid that war at all costs, and he has all settings to do that. He never was an enemy of Putin. He is practically only one man in Ukrainian establishment who can come to Kremlin, talk to Vladimir Putin, and make a deal with him. And you know what? That's making deal. He was involved in the swapping of prisoners of war for this 8 years. He released 500 people from captivity. Now he is sitting in a jail. So they captured him because he was declined to leave Ukraine. He want to be with his country. He want something better for his country. And when a war coming, they accuse him to be high treason. And what a high treason was?
What high treason was?
It's a joke because they accuse him he was trading a coal from this eastern part of Ukrainian Donbass, what was rebellion, and they trade the coal to Ukraine to produce the energy in Ukraine for Ukrainians. And this is a called high treason. How insane this accusation is. I know him pretty well as his beautiful wife, Oksana Marchenko. She come online, she addressed everyone whom she know, the Putin, Macron, and Erdogan, asking them to help and to swap him for the Ukrainians. It still doesn't work out. I hope for better. I want to touch this and tell this story because sometimes you film, if you look on the end of Revealing Ukraine, this is one particular clip in there when Oksana is asking Oliver, what do you worry about? And Oliver answering, I worry that's world blowing up. So this is our biggest goal for all that films was to prevent war. And
Igor, you're right.
Yeah, and the people accusing me said, you pro-Russian, you justifying the killing innocent Ukrainians. I said, no, I'm not justifying killing no one. Because I was in a peace movement from 1988, because I was graduated in rocket science. I know, and actually was my military occupation was a luncheon officer for ICBM. So I know how devastating, how dangerous, and how brutal the nuclear weapon is. So in 1988, I was joined the Soviet-American peace movement. We walked from Odessa to Kiev. It was 250 Americans, 250 Ukrainians, and we walk and using the bus sometime, but mostly walking together. And we start knowing each other. We understand we're so similar. We have such a lot of similarities, common, values of our civilization. They common. That's a family values, and especially youth. Unfortunately, Tara, now is no peace movement. Everybody in the peace movement now, they blaming Russia. They blaming Russia for, they don't understanding you cannot blame one side for the war. You cannot, and especially Russia not raging the war as we did.
I mean, there's 14,000 Russian nationals that have lost their lives. And as we speak in this moment, right now, the Donbass region is being attacked by Ukrainians, and they're the Ukrainian military, and they're going after civilians. And they've hit some children today. I mean, I just saw some of the footage. I mean, and we're not getting coverage here in the West of any of that. As you know, they've censored all the media.
This is very important to understand. That war started not on the 23rd of February. 8 years ago, when Maidan happened in Kiev. Bloody and violent 2014, bloody and violent coup d'etat, what was immediately recognized by United States government. And the people who behind of this war, we need to call them by the names. This is like Senator McCain. This is Victoria Nuland. This is our hawkish neocons, our interventionalism, who want to change the world by the force. Of course, this force is not a military force. This is a soft power. But this soft power, together with Soros, together with any other manipulative technology, media, they change the minds of Ukrainians. They change the mind of everyone who not develop the critical thinking skill, and they bring him to this disaster. Because when you live in an imaginable world and you see unicorns, and after that you accidentally hit the pole by your forehead, and this is a very hard meeting with reality. This is what my fellow Ukrainians experiencing now. 8 years, they allowed that people jumping on the street, wearing the insignia of neo-Nazi, and calling, let's kill them, Moskala. Moskale. Yeah, Ruski, it's Moskale. So, and they cultivating this hate. They cultivating on a government level. We can see that in our society, cultivated in a little, little cells, white supremacists or others. But imagine how bad it can go when the government helping you to cultivate. Imagine if the people, not just the one president, imagine the entire government endorse them, and not some kind of, innocent, like, I forget that people who accuse in the January 6th boys or something. They
the Proud Boys?
Like,
Proud
Boys. Yeah, they endorse it like a people on the level of Ku Klux Klan, KKK, people who hanging people who killing, who torturing. And after that, they say, no, it's no Nazi in Ukraine. No, of course not. Because that there's no Nazi in government. In a Germany, Nazi Germany, the Nazi in government was very polite. That was a politician who allowed that, who enabled that. And that people who were in the brown uniform and who go and beat, who go and kill, who go and torture, that was a storm brigade of Adolf Hitler and the Rommel and or others. They was, of course, on the streets. They was working on the streets. That's exactly what's happening in Ukraine. No, Ukrainian neo-nationalists, Nazi, do not sit in parliament, of course. And when people complaining that Zelensky is a Jewish, how he can be Nazi? Yes, he can. Because in the Nazi Germany, that was a lot of examples. Who was a national Jew. Yeah, who was a Jew and who was a Nazi and who killed other Jews. And this is not about your nationality. This is about your ideology. When you put in one nation over the others, and when President of Ukraine, Zelensky, calling the previous prime minister, calling the people living in Donbass subhumans, and now they complaining, they put in this all shit on the head of Putin. No, I understand what's happening. Everything was built on a blood. Everything was built on a hypocrisy, lie, and manipulated reality gonna fail sooner or later. And when you're dealing with such a scam as a Nazism, you cannot avoid dealing with a brutal force, because without force, they're not going away. Doesn't matter how many films we're gonna show them, how many articles we're gonna read them out loud, they're not gonna disappear. We need a brutal force. Best brutal force in the World War II was the Red Army and allies who joined together and cleaned this mess. Of course, Russia leading role in Soviet Union was paying such a huge price for that. This is why Russians can't stand it. They can stand the smallest example. They can stand swastika. They can stand the insignia of Waffen SS. They can stand it. They're gonna fight it. And when you allow this scam to breed in your country, be ready to. So we did a film about this, not about Nazis in Ukraine, not about this war. We did a film in 2021. We call it long, very hard to remember name, 30 years of independence, Ukraine, 30 years of independence, the everlasting present. The everlasting present, you remember the Groundhog Dog movie with a beautiful movie when the hero, they're waking up every morning the same day.
Yes,
and that's making
Groundhog Day.
Going, Groundhog Day, great film. So this, imagine Ukraine living in this 30 years. 30 years, they waking up, same people, same corrupted politician, different narration, same result. And country going down. Country going down. It's the poorest country in Europe. It's the biggest country in Europe. Most corrupt country. And on the level of exodus, that for this last 8 years, I know numbers for 6 million people leave Ukraine, 6 million, by million in a year, just without war, without any war. Like, it was a war on the East, but overall, 1 million per year in Europe. This is this is a disaster. People was leaving Ukraine, they don't want to leave this life. So we make the film. It was very sad because, that was already in the air. We released it in a rush. We make it for 45 days. Unbelievable timing for me. Usually we work more than a year on a film.
Right.
This time it was 45 days. We managed access to ex-president of Ukraine, Viktor Yushchenko, who was first person who flipped to the West. In 2000, he was elected president. In 2004, he resigned, and with 2004 he was elected president, and it was a disaster. That the president who gave the status of hero, national hero, to Stepan Bandera, whom everybody know, he was an open collaborator with Nazi regime. He
was a Nazi.
And that guy, President Yushchenko, you can see him in the film. He gave him a status of hero. We managed to access to two prime ministers of Ukraine from different political spectrum, and a couple of powerful figures in the government, the Minister of Economy, etc. And we bring it all together and we show it. It's very little to celebrate. 30 years of independence bring Ukraine to the knee. It's very, very bad. And sad, but it was just the beginning. The ending was very bad. And ending going on now. We all see this what's going on at this Eastern Front in the Donbass, and we have a war in Europe. And you know what? When I'm starting talking about Budapest Memorandum and nuclear war, you know what's happened a few days ago? Radoslav Sikorski, who was a foreign minister of Poland at the time of Maidan, and who was signatory on that peace agreement on the 18th of February 2014. And he now come on a Ukrainian. He is representing Poland in European Union. He's working for European Union government, and he come to Ukrainian television and tell to the audience. So after Budapest memorandum has failed, we maybe West need to gift Ukrainians nukes back. Tara, you just imagine this.
Wow.
These people without nukes. So you practically he said, let's give him the nuclear weapon to that people who want to fight. So let's ignite that nuclear war in Europe. I don't know if people thinking they.
But Igor, you remember when we were talking, and I told you because as you know, I worked in government, and I said that I was afraid that Biden was going to start a war with Russia. And I remember people telling me not to say that months ago, but here we are. There's a proxy war. How did it make you feel when you saw the 40 billion sail through Congress? Because you live in Los Angeles as well. I mean, 40 billion towards weapons in Ukraine. Now it's 53 billion. And then last week, another 800 million. And of course, they're not doing anything for the American people. They don't have any money for that.
First of all, what is your thought? This is not for Ukraine. So this is, if you read that bill carefully, you understand, oh, wow, this is actually practically going to NATO, going to American producers of weapons, etc., etc. It's actually, this is money used not for Ukrainians. There's a very little part of this 40 billions coming to Ukrainian, and they, of course, they're going to steal it. But they will arrange the big flow of weaponry in Ukraine. And this is the problem, because this weaponry not gonna kill people, that's gonna kill people. So if you trying to extinguish the fire, throwing the gas in the fire, this is exactly what they're doing. So they don't want Ukraine to end the war as faster as possible. They wanted that Ukrainians fight with Russia until last Ukrainian. And strategically, this is not some kind of joke. This is a strategy that Putin announced that MAD strategy will to prevent anyone from NATO country to involve in this conflict underground. And everybody take this message very seriously. So, and the speed of our financial help, we already faster than we was in Afghanistan. But you remember how it's ended up in Afghanistan, because weapons do not fight, people fight. Right. And Ukraine taking huge losses, nuclear strategy, nuclear deterrence strategy, not allowing any foreign boots on the ground, only mercenaries. And after that, rebellious republics start prosecuting and penalty for the mercenaries' death, and they have no moratorium on a death penalty. So I think people are gonna think if they need to go there, because if they're gonna capture it and if they're mercenaries, they're gonna be executed. So strategically thinking, Ukraine is doomed. Now this narrative start pumping up everywhere, popping up in New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and even White House. That Biden start throwing Zelensky under the bus, saying, I told him, he not listen to me. And Zelensky was upset. He said, wow, this is you responsible with our failures. You not close the air. You not deliver the sanction up front. You not deliver our weapon up front. So now Ukraine standing in position, is a very, very unethical and immoral position. They start commanding. They start demanding why, Tara? Why is it? First of all, they believe in their own lies. When Russia decides to retreat from Kiev and Kharkov, and they announce it in advance, and they retreat in the order, Ukraine start claiming this as a victory. And after we repel Russians, we liberate the Kiev. No, you don't. It's Russians retreat. That was their strategic maneuver, because they stand in Kiev to allow to from the military perspective, they just want Ukrainian troops standing in Kiev, be ready to battle, and do not. And this time they go to the south. This was just a maneuver. Ukrainian claim it as a victory, and after that they start believing this. We are a victorious army. We're gonna beat Russia. No, they not. They never gonna beat the force what's 10 times bigger. And what's happening? What's the result of this war? What the result of this war in the world? We have an energy crisis. We are officially in a bear market. We like 20% loss of all our stock market. Our gas price crazy and never was so high. And we facing stagflation. Inflation, it's not the baddest things in economy. Stagflation, when inflation and recession come together, that's really bad. So we probably know that when I'm reading that the best investment now, this is a 10 can of tuna. I believe that. Look on commodities.
I want to ask you. Yeah, I want to ask you a very sober question. And you know, and if you know, I don't know how you're going to answer, but do you feel like the track that we're on? Do you feel like we're headed towards a global conflict right in this moment?
We're already in the World War III, but you know, it's not nuclear yet. Because
that's what I'm asking if it's going to go that far.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that America's fighting this proxy war and NATO's fighting the proxy war using Ukrainians, you know, using them as cannon fodder, basically. And I mean, I'm saying that to you, but for you, I mean, you were born there. I mean, this must like hurt your heart. This is, you know, your family is safe, I hope, right now. I'm asking.
Yeah, everybody's safe. Everybody's safe. Yeah, I evacuated my daughter who was one left in Ukraine. On a day when my dad was win, like, you know, 8 years ago. After that, she decided to go back. She decided to study there, and she was again evacuated 8 years after. She now in the United States, as I know. And but you know, with all my heart and all pain what I'm experiencing, because the country when I reside, my current homeland, fighting in a place of my motherland, with country whom I belong culturally, to Russian culture, to Russian civilization. So it's all producing like very strange feelings, but most probably painful is to see how Ukrainians do not take it. What is that? Why is happening this way? Why that happened in this way? They don't understand what caused the war. They still don't understand that Russia fighting not for Ukraine. Russia fighting for their own. Russia fighting for their Russian safety, because they don't want to fight in 2023 nuclear war for Crimea. Because if they don't do it now, it's obvious. This is anyone in West, they start understanding now. We need to find a way to put Zelensky to the reality, to sit him in front in a table and negotiate the peace. That will be big, you know.
Do you feel like the pressure on the American politicians and the European politicians, because their economies are sinking and they're all coming up on elections in Europe and here in America in the fall? Do you believe that pressure will make them kind of go towards more peace, or do you feel like they're just escalating towards war? And when you look at the landscape?
I believe, because unfortunately we're not living in that kind of democracy, what allowing the people to control the government, what they elect.
Yeah,
I don't see any connection of people suffering, struggling, and what's our government doing. This government doing whatever they want in a way how they want it, but not how people want. You know, like very simple question, very simple. Probably look idiotic, but you know, I'm a filmmaker. I can ask stupid questions. For God's sake, why we taxing people when we printing the money in this amount? Why the taxation still around? Because with all that stimuluses, with all this unbelievable, you know, like a crazy elephant printing the machine on the highest level, and you know what? That's 40 billions what they give to Ukraine. It also was printed money. that was not money. What's because we have a budget deficit. So I mean, we don't have a money. We actually broke. We have a huge debt. And we also restricting people to trade in oil in these dollars. Oh my God. So if the other countries, and they showing these signs, China, Saudi Arabia, India, start trading with Russians oil, not in the United States dollars, but in their local currency. So dollar will take a big hit. It's a long process. Inertia is huge, but all these projections not right. All these projections, it's not good for the people. It's fragmenting the world. We talk about this. We talk about this with Nazarbayev in our latest film in Kazakh. He said, "I'm afraid world gonna be fragmented," and we see this now. That the Western world. This is just only 28 countries who join our United States fight against Russia, but other countries don't. No. Even such a country like Brazil and Saudi Arabia.
We're losing the global South and East. Yeah. Wait, I have a question for you about this. I want to kind of ask you about two things. We touched on censorship, but I wanted to ask you, because in my lifetime, I've never seen censorship like this. And then, of course, you know, RT America was shut down. RT was removed from, and England, they pulled their license. Here, they just, you know, suppressed it. But I wanted to also ask you about the Russophobia, and because you culturally do identify with Russia, and you did grow up in the Soviet Union, and you went to college in Moscow, and you speak Russian, obviously, and you, you know, that's part of your motherland and whatnot. I guess as an American citizen, I am so ashamed at the bigotry and the xenophobia that I see. It's heartbreaking and it's upsetting. You know, I have my own connection. And I can't understand it. And I kind of wanted your thoughts on, I know those are two very separate things, but on those two kind of subjects.
You know what, first about Russophobia. Yeah, it's bad. It's very bad, but you cannot cancel the Russian culture because that culture belongs to the humanity. And it's not all humanity. You're just canceling yourself out of Russian culture. It's okay. Yeah. Russian culture can survive that. So there's Russian ballet, and there's 1,000 years. So we don't exist in even the 20% of this. So this is the first question. So you cancel you out of Russian literature, okay. You don't know Chekhov, good. You're not listening to Tchaikovsky, okay. You don't see Russian ballet, good. So you're not flying space in Russian spaceship, oh, you're flying because you need it. And you need Russian uranium, you need the Russian energy, you need Russia. Because Russia is a part of global world, this is a part. But you know, you turn in Russia to the China hands. This is their biggest fear, because China is a real threat. China a threat only not because of Chinese way of thinking. China is actually very much not. They're
not imperialist, so, and in my
they're so different. They never was empire. They never like divide and conquer. This is not their rule. They try to care about their people first, make them live better. Yeah. So, but economically, we are on a collision course with China. We build them, we finance them, we build all that plants in China because producing of shoes is much less expensive in China than in the United States. Now we're gonna pay for that because we don't have even toilet paper or the medicine or the iPhones
or baby formula.
We cannot cancel the China because this, you cancel all your Amazon deliveries. Oh, you're not gonna survive that. So world is global, and Russia playing an important part in this, and they understand it. So our government do everything wrong, promoting this conflict. You know, Henry Kissinger. I'm not a big fan. I actually opposite. I think he is can be qualified as
a big neocon, big hawk,
very moral person who but even Kissinger saying you need to stop it because you pushed in Russia in the China hand. It's wrong. You know, this is a strategy, free power strategy. And the Kissinger was inventing this strategy in the diplomacy. You need a third power to resolve the issue with the two. And if with the third, you can roll this triangle. But you know who is the best student of this theory? Sergei Lavrov, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Russia. They using they using China, uniting with China against, and they both together. They don't need the formal union. They don't need kind of NATO. They said we're gonna protect each other. We're not union, but we.
Yeah, and I like him. He the other day he made some comment. He kind of trolled America. He's really funny. He's got a good sense of humor, and
he have a very good sense of humor.
He makes a good points, and I think everybody heard what he was saying. But
he also play good guitar. You know, he's playing good guitar. And, yes.
Okay. That's good. He has a deep voice. He has a good voice. Yeah. Yeah. So as far as your films, like we're running low as far as time to hit both trailers. Which one do you want us to put up as far as so people can see a trailer towards the end?
I know that better Kazakh because for Ukrainian film, you need to read the subtitles, and this is very much visual. And you go now YouTube channel, you go Amazon, you Google my name, and you see all my films. This is and
you know, for the audience that's listening, we have Igor's all his information and links to his film and his film production company underneath. And then hey Reade, do we have any comments or questions for Igor right now?
I would love to.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We have one from Jera Brown that was asking what Igor thought how the Ukrainian war would end. And will Putin leave Western Ukraine as a puppet state, which will never join NATO as a buffer? They addended to that.
Okay.
So my vision of how Ukrainian war gonna end.
Yes.
That will be some kind of table, and on this table will be like laying down peace agreement, and they will be work out. And I don't know if Putin gonna meet Zelensky or now. The Ukraine not showing the good signs of negotiation. Russia will to negotiate from the first day. They was saying this is a war, this is a measure what we need to take, but we don't need it if you agreed on the terms. We can go to terms. So now the difference, because Ukraine want all territory, especially Crimea and Donbass, back to Ukraine. This is practically impossible. This territory is Russian, not Russian, but the Crimea is Russian. There's no way Crimea go back. No, anyway. So as soon as Ukraine understand that with Crimea, they need to accept Donbass. But, you know, Russia paying the huge cost for this. They have casualties. They're not gonna, forget about that casualties. They will take, I believe, Ukraine as we know it is finished. It's no Ukraine in this territorial integrity. Territorial integrity of the Ukraine is a memory. This belongs to history. Now, the new Ukraine, how new Ukraine will be configured, I believe it's supposed to be neutral, not joining NATO. And how big that country will be, we will see that, I believe, in November. Until November, there's gonna be fights. Yeah, this is my vision. And what else was in the question? Second part of question was
just
I forget.
Was essentially will Putin leave Ukraine as a puppet state, which will never join NATO, which I think you answered to some degree. So
yes, yeah.
And then any others, Reade?
Ukraine's total debts from February 2014 to now is at 85 billion.
Wow. Okay.
So and like Russia, China, and the global South will rise from this. People talking about we can print money for that, but not for healthcare and housing and stuff like that. So
this is ridiculous. Yeah. We actually, by the way, printing money, it's a bad idea or overall. It's never helped. It's just postpone the problem for the next generation. But, there's something wrong with the entire system of Western world, because our democracy is not democracy. It's oligopoly. Our freedom of press, it's a censorship. So we live in an Orwell world. This is why I'm very much appreciate that all people of goodwill unite and help each other. This is, I believe, this is the only way to go through this hardship, to understand, to not let them do whatever they want. They bring us to the COVID. They lead us through that muzzles and the COVID. They need it because the 17 trillions was erased during the COVID time. If not, it will be like a big debt crisis in the world without COVID. After that, they need a war. After that, they will invent something else to distract us from what's really matter, quality of our life every day, how to pay rent, how to pay for utilities, how to put the food on the table. This is what they're doing, and they're using media for that. This is why independent media is so important, because they're not brainwashing. They're giving the people chance, see that, look on a different side of picture, understand the whole complexity of the picture, and study that and make their own judgment by themselves. Not everything what you need to know about Ukraine. As soon as I see that in MSNBC or somewhere, I want to puke. This is important. It is crazy.
Yeah,
but
it is.
We're here for our audience to bring them like some real food for the brain, real meta stuff, critical.
There you have it. All right. Well, let me play. How long is the trailer, Reade? 2 minutes?
2 minutes.
Let's play it. Let's play it back. Let's play it, and then I wanted to talk with you for a few more minutes before we have to close out.
Okay.
Mr. Stone.
Mr. President, I'm
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome to Kazakhstan. Я рад, что я с вами знакомлюсь сегодня. Американец, которого я уважаю.
Mr. Director.
Я Игорь Лопатонок, режиссер.
Рад познакомиться.
He was born in 1940. The worst of the war. It was horrible.
Я всегда вспоминаю, с чего я начинал. Я сын необразованных крестьян.
How does Yeltsin talk to him about Gorbachev?
Ельцин говорил, я буду сидеть на твоем месте. Я видел пик их противостояния.
Я прекращаю свою деятельность на посту президента СССР.
Вы хотите узнать анатомию разлома? 456 взрывов было сделано и около 70 в атмосфере.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Я родилась в семье рабочего металлургического завода.
In 91, Soviet Union falls apart. So what do people do?
Выживали.
У всех тогда на устах была демократия. Здесь была чистая степь всего 16 лет назад. Теперь стоит город. Когда я собирался строить этот город, много ночей не спал.
You have the three great powers in the world right now: United States, Russia, and China.
Мы стоим в центре материка, и здесь есть интересы всех.
Я сижу с лидером этого народа.
There's a mystical aspect to this golden man.
Мы потомки саков и гунов, и наша родословная идет оттуда.
Thank you.
I love
Tara.
it so much. It's so beautiful. Your filming is incredible. And, it's not just your connection to Oliver Stone, who's amazingly one of the best filmmakers of our time, right? And I even have his memoir, actually, that I've just been reading. And, but I'm telling you.
It's a great book, yeah.
Yeah, it is a great book, his memoir is. But that was really beautiful. You did a great job with the drone shots and the.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you.
That must have been hard work.
I bring a little bit of metaphorical vision to documentarian, hard political documentaries. You need to entertain audience somehow.
Yeah.
And it's such a beautiful country, such a lot of it's a motherland of all horses in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Horses originated from there. They domesticate horses first. They also eat them.
Wild horses. Mm-hmm.
Yes, but
I know.
They eat them. I know. And they eat horses.
But their relationship is all around the horse. It's like so. I don't know.
Yes. Yeah, and this is a biggest input of that civilization in the entire civilization, our civilization, Western, because without horse, everything what's happened in our millennia is not possible, because horse and the domestication of horse change the speed of our civilization. Instead of like walking for just 5-10 miles per day, you can run on a horse for 100.
Mhm.
And they was so beautifully nomadically run, and they was very spiritual as well. I believe the history of our civilization missing, because we all come from the nursery of ancient Greeks. We all come from the Rome, and if you visit in the Washington DC, you can see that Rome is still here. But we're not only Rome, we're also this part of the world who was before that. And to understand it properly Russia and China, and to understand what is happening, it's my fault.
Do I still have you? Okay.
To understanding all this in the right way, we need to understand what's happening now and how that was historically happening before.
You're right, and you know, that's what I loved about it. The visuals gave it context, and also the majesty of the country, you know, the majesty of the land and the richness of the resources. And that's why you have the United States and Russia and China all interested in this little swath of land with, you know, but I think what I got from that documentary, and tell me if I'm right or wrong on this, was just that this leader, the original leader, did not want war. He was trying to economically build up for his citizens and try to stay neutral between these three powers. Is that kind of a good assessment?
Yes, look, how many cities we, a powerful and richest country in the world, built for the last 30 years from the scratch? How many big cities with 1 million people living there we built? Zero.
Right. Zero.
And this is not a developing economy. This is developing economy who built the capital from the city was 200,000 live to city when 1 million, more than 1 million live now.
Yeah.
Why? You're asking the oil and gas, but you know, everybody has oil and gas. We also have oil and gas. How many cities we built? Zero.
Right.
Because they don't spend money on the weapons. They don't participate in this race of weapon race. They don't do that. They allocate their resources for healthcare, for education, first of all.
They've turned inward. They've turned inward.
Yes. This is what we can do. This is what, because, you know, what brings us to the moon?
Right.
And Soviets just launched Sputnik. The United States government, I believe it was a Kennedy, they allocate like a $50 million to improve studying the math in the colleges. And that's built on this foundation, they build the entire NASA. Because, you know, you cannot, if you not educate your people, you cannot bring them to the moon.
Exactly.
And this is like, you know, this is why I'm also working in the film industry, because I believe that my films telling this history in a way contemporary people, not only youth, but all of them can understand, digest, and study. This is our input in a global culture, to educate, to enlighten, to make people a little bit better. But little by little, we can achieve good results.
Well, I know you've made a lot of people's lives better with your work and your films, and I just want to thank you for your vision and for being so open and talking with me today and all of that. And I guess, you know, I find you so inspirational, and I'm glad you came back on the show to talk about it. And I know I look forward to your next project. Pleasure. Yeah, and to the audience members that joined and had questions, you can always DM me and I can pass them on to Igor, or you can find him on social media, and I'm sure he will accommodate. Igor, do you have any final thoughts? Because I want to kind of leave some of the last words with you.
Final thoughts. First of all, thank you, Tara, for having me. Thank you. You're doing a great job. And second, we need to fight every day against that censorship, against stupidity, against our own government. But without that, this life, and you know, this is not the best way of living, will look like a beautiful memory of world. If we allow them to harness us completely, we're gonna be slaves. So we need to fight for our freedom every day and make us little by little. There's a great Russian writer Chekhov who said that it's the biggest goal for you. It's like squeeze the slave from you by drops every day.
There you have it. There you have it. Blessings to you and your family.
Thank you for having me.
And yeah, and I love talking to you. I wish we could talk for hours too, because I always learn something, and I know you educate with your art and with your vision. So hey, thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll be back next week on the Politics of Survival. Thanks for everyone who joined, and we'll see you next time.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.